TMCnet at NextCom 2008.
Good morning, once again, coming to you live from NextCom 2008 here in Las Vegas. I'm Eric Lanask, and I'm joined now by Charles Stute, who is Vice President of Product Management and Marketing with Intellipere.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So Intellipere started sort of on the wholesale carrier end of the business, is that correct?
We did. We started out basically by building an IP network to connect carriers, provide transport and termination of voice traffic over IP. But we really had a grander vision when we started the company to really create the next sort of architecture and platform for the evolution of telecom services, and that was one step in the evolutionary process. So that was really the first step, is laying that foundation groundwork, and then building on top of that.
And you've been doing a lot on the voice peering side. Can you tell me a little bit about how that's been going? There's been a lot of emphasis on voice peering late.
Sure. I mean, you're right. There has been a lot of emphasis on voice peering, and that's really looked as a solution to solve a lot of the carrier challenges with IP services, trying to transport them and connect them using the legacy PSTN network. And so what we're seeing is a lot of interest in carriers to directly connect their networks and leverage IP networks and interfaces to do that. What we've also found is that being able to provide a sort of a hub where a lot of carriers can come together, leverage those economies of scale in terms of the economics as well as the single point of integration is actually a very big value proposition. And so that's why we've seen a lot of growth in our own voice peering network and peering grid. And what we've been able to do is build relationships with over 60 carriers now where we can directly connect to them over IP and essentially provide a one-stop shop for voice peering for any carrier who comes onto our network. And then, of course, all of them get to leverage the disruptive economics that come from using IP to directly connect communications traffic.
But now, specifically here at the show, you're taking that a step further, aren't you, by opening up your entire communications platform, right?
We are, and from the time we founded the company, we realized that we didn't. The promise of IP communications really wasn't just cheap calling or trying to replace the PSTN. It was really about evolving communications. And so, as I said, we created these sort of groundwork components to directly connect telephony devices and endpoints over IP, to provide the disruptive economics using IP to make to change the economic value proposition. And now what we're really doing is creating the platform that enables anyone to take this environment and embed telephony and directly into their application, what we like to call a telephony-powered application. And when we start to talk to folks who are interested in doing this, we just find that there's a tremendous amount of opportunities from software, web portals, entertainment companies, web collaboration and conferencing, where the user experience and the user workflow inside an application is really improved by having the voice communications function right there embedded in the application. What we found is that there's been challenges in the past in terms of getting the expertise and the hardware, the network infrastructure, and the software all together. And what we're really doing is creating an open platform that exposes our network as a hosted software service delivered from the cloud, managed by us, available on demand, so that anyone, even if they're not a telephony expert, can come and leverage the power of our network and embed voice communications right in their application.
So that's really migrating from voice peering to application peering.
Right. We just see that as sort of the logical migration of sort of where telephony is headed. When you start to talk about telephony 2.0, these are the kind of functions that people want, really an integrated experience, rich communications, leveraging voice with their application, and we're really trying to create the environment that will enable that transformation.
And who do you see as your primary target in terms of going out with the software as a service solution?
Well, really any company that could leverage voice communications in their application as a target. I mean, if you think about sort of communication formats, voice is sort of the most natural, rich communication format there is. So you could have a CRM company that wants to embed the voice communications function right in their application. You could have any kind of hosted enterprise software company, a web community or portal where their users want to communicate directly with each other. And really, we're not trying to replace the PSTN, but bring the PSTN into that experience. So, users can be reached over any device, any application can reach them. It's this really much more robust environment where communications and telephony is really embedded right into the user experience. So the user is no longer swiveling from their screen of, for example, a CRM system over their telephone, but really everything that they need happens in the CRM application. And if their telephone needs to ring to bridge them in, then it can ring automatically. And that's kind of the future for the end user experience that we're really targeting.
Well, speaking of the future, and you just mentioned replacing the PSTN, to that extent, what are your thoughts on how long we're actually going to live with the PSTN?
I think it's going to be around for some time to come. I mean, if you look at the number of native IP endpoints versus PSTN endpoints, it's maybe 5% IP and 95% PSTN, and I don't think that's going away overnight. There's probably at least another decade that we'll see of a transition period, and we're in some kind of hybrid environment. So it's really important to look for solutions that have, for example, the peering component where you can leverage IP now, but also connect that very seamlessly in with the legacy network. Because the last thing you want to do is create an application or a service that is IP only in a closed network community and really doesn't take into account the billions of other users who are still connected to the PSTN.
Great. Thanks, Charles. For more information on what Intellipeer has been doing in the voice peering space or on their open communications platform that they're announcing here at NextCom, be sure to check in with Intellipeer and Charles at the show.
Thanks
again.
Thank you.